Do you have trouble in saving your own money? Do you find it really hard to understand what the stock market is? How does mutual funds work? How does index funds work? What is an SIP? And just the basics of how money is made and how you can use money to make more money from that. Well, in this episode of Bitscast, Gaurang Sanghvi joins me to talk about how students can save their money, how can they invest their money to make more money. Okay, he'll be talking about stock market now, the mutual funds work, how can you invest the little bits of money that you're earning right now in your internships and in your job to benefit you later on, right? Because as Warren Buffett has said famously, if you can invest your money right now when you are young, you can really reap the benefits later, and it really compounds over time. So yeah guys, this is a great episode of my podcast. Make sure that you watch till the very end. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video, and now let's jump into the episode. Hello Gaurang, thank you so much for joining me here for this podcast interview. Thank you so much for being here. And how are you doing there?
Very well, thank you. Hope you're doing well and safe at home.
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing right now in the COVID situation?
Oh, this is for every geek out there, this is the best time, I think. But at the same time, you realize how privileged you are that we can even do this.
Yeah.
We have the facilities to do it. We have the means that our work can continue. So you feel a lot of privilege. But the fact that this is like the best time. I've never assumed that such good quality time one can spend with family, still get to do your 8-hour to 10-hour work day, and you still have more times to do anything. So and as a Gujarati, I really believe this is even better because you don't end up spending as much money.
Yeah.
So
By the way, what is it? What is the one quality in Gujaratis that they always say that you have to, if you are into financing and all, you should look at what a Gujarati is doing and then do something similar to that. What is this
so
whole
again,
storyline about?
No. So I don't think it's only, there's basically some communities that became traders, right? Traditionally. And the basic premise of a trader is that the only value that you can drive is between two people transacting, right? You buy from someone and you sell to someone. And if you add your expenses a lot and you add that adds to the cost of transaction. So one thing Gujaratis do really well is keep their costs very low. So it's not about, they're not chingus or chindi is that as another word. They're very value conscious. They will never pay for something that is not doesn't have explicit value to themselves. And I think that's their trait, right? They're not penny wise pound foolish, but they're just pound foolish. Like they will just ensure that they won't spend big, but don't mind spending the pennies in the bargain.
That's actually something interesting because right now even I started my small business, you can say, but like it's basically a service where we help other people get started with podcasting. And I started the website and I could have paid for the domain and hosting for it, but I did not want to. So I saved up on that right now because we're just in the initial phases.
Who paid for it?
I did not pay for it. Like you can host it, but the website would not be like .com. It would be something else.
Oh, it doesn't matter. See, these are things that you do to buy and share and move forward. And that's another thing that Gujaratis do, right? So the simple rule of trading, right? When they, like any Gujarati who makes their first buck, they'll actually make it without spending a penny. So they will first find the buyer, define the price, then go find the supply for it at a much cheaper price and use the buyer's credit to buy it. So they don't spend any money. Right. I think it's the classic way to build anything. So I don't just try reducing cost as far as long as and as by as much as possible.
Okay. Let's actually look at the perspective of an 18-year-old. What does he think of money, or she? So I recently earned my first amount of money, through freelancing.
Congrats.
And through this business that I started. Right. Thank you so much. So I have a good amount of money. Let's just say I have 10,000. Okay. What do I do with this right now?
Why are you shy of telling you how much exactly? This is the thing, right? Even as podcasters, we don't believe that podcasters should not be making money. Oh shit. Let's not talk about it. The fact that we have to change the conversation about it. And the amount does not matter. It is
the
what
amount
you
is
do with
not
it.
that much. It's like about 8,000. Yeah, 8,000 exactly.
Fair enough. Good. So you don't underestimate, don't overestimate your expenses also, or overestimate your revenue and underestimate your expenses, as they say.
Yeah. So what should I do with this money that I have right now? Like, what should be the mentality of a person that has earned his first income, who is also a younger generation, like between 18 to 22?
No, so it doesn't matter, right? I have a very philosophically different thing. If you have earned your first income, I always think you should go and give it to your parents. Put it
Okay.
in an envelope, put it in a check. It does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that your parents worked so hard to get you where it is,
Yeah.
that it will mean the world to them. The amount is not going to change their lives in any way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what do you do with your first check? Always give it to your parents.
Okay.
It's your way to show gratitude. It's your way to say thank you, or do it for charity. One
Mm-hmm.
of the two, it goes a long way. Money has memory, uh,
Mm-hmm.
explicitly, and I truly believe in it, and it's nothing to do with karma or all of that shit. Right? The
Yeah.
fact that if your simple concepts, if you have a good attitude, if you have a good heart, and you keep on doing good, eventually good will happen to you. There is no other way, because you've
Mm-hmm.
changed your energy inside you.
Yeah.
You're not discontented. You're not looking down on people. So
Mm-hmm.
what do you do with your first money? Give it to your parents or do it for a good cause. What do you do with your second money? Now let's
Yeah.
get to the question. That is actually also proves that you're not just being lucky in what you did, because
Yeah.
most people end up being lucky in one time, and they
Mm-hmm.
never think of building it consistency.
Yeah.
Now once you start creating an income loop and focus on yourself, saying if you 8,000 rupees a month, for example, I need to earn continuously. Whatever happens, I have to work harder, smarter, more efficiently, whatever it needed, right? You then figure out, the first step is, where does your expenses, right? You need to make some of y'all are lucky that y'all don't have expenses. Family takes care of your expenses. Some kids or some college graduate might not be lucky enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will have to fend for their parents or contribute to their house, and so on and so forth. So first take care of essentials with your family or for yourself, like your boarding, your education, your food and basics. If you have all of that covered, and if you're lucky, then
Yeah.
my suggestion is, do not have any needs. So don't go spend it on Amazon. Don't go spend it. Only spend it online or on products that help your business. Because think of it as reinvesting in yourself
Yeah.
or
Mm-hmm.
reinvesting in equipment. In your case, you can buy yourself a mic, a green background, whatever that you might think you need to do to improve your
Mm-hmm.
business or attract more business. If all of that is
Yeah.
not a worry, and we have now gone to a stage that we don't need extra money, my first suggestion is, save. First, get into the habit of saving.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought there was so first get into the habit of saving. The rule is that you want to first see return, right? Anything that we do, right? We want, if we run a race, right? We want to win, right? Or at least be one of the top
Mm-hmm.
three. That gives
Yeah.
us confidence to go run more races. But if you
Mm-hmm.
start racing and you are like way back in the last, that everybody is not even waiting for you to finish, you will stop racing, right? At some point. So you have to find
Mm-hmm.
ways to understand that money can multiply when you sleep. The safest way to do it is a fixed deposit, if you have an end space, or a liquid funds that invest in the basically government securities. That's something that you should familiarize with these terms. Like
Mm-hmm.
you study 12 hours a day, you should study 1 hour a day on your finances. It'll go a long way.
Okay. And
So I
how
hope
should
it
how
answers
can
question for everyone.
Mhm. How can we get into the mindset of saving money and not just flat out spending it on buying and getting into uh, the mindset of consumerism and all?
See, consumer is not bad, right? All of us. The TV behind me is consumer. The shirt is consumer. This is consumer. The
Yeah.
laptop, the Zoom call, right? The fact that we live in a world where there are needs, you have to know what spends is your need spend and what is your non-essential. So essential or non-essential, need versus want. You have to divide that thing. I want
Hmm.
the new iPhone, or actually I need the new iPhone because that has the best camera, it has the best experience, I'm able to recover my recover my cost because I can make revenue out of it, or whatever it is. Or I have so much extra saving that if I spend this little amount, it does not matter so much.
Okay.
So you have to understand between need and want. Always think need or want. Is this a need or this is a want? And don't kid yourself. Okay. Most people
Yeah.
in college assume even recreational drugs are a need of the hour. It is not.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about a little bit about multiple places where we can invest our money. Okay, because I have heard a bunch of places and just things, right? There is the stock market, there is the bond market, then there's also things like mutual funds, index funds. What are these things, and where should we invest right now?
So it is, see, again, I said, right? If you spend so many hours learning concepts in your college education,
Yeah.
which you will never apply in your workplace. So I
Yeah.
don't know why most people spend their 4 years till the time they don't want to become researchers. They should all become YouTubers in my view, or teach other people concepts that, because these concepts are never going to be applied, or partly never going to be applied. The fact that you have to learn about financial services like any concept, right? So the best way to start is think of it, right? Everybody has a savings account. It is a store value. It is
Yeah.
like the piggy box, which is digital, that I keep on putting some money. The percentage return is negligible, so let's even ignore it. Uh, then the next thing that exists in a bank are two products, which is one is called fixed deposit, the second is called recurring deposit, right? Fixed deposit is when you start with a lump sum or a fixed amount, and they know that given tenure you will get X amount of money back. Okay. Recurring deposit is like a fixed deposit, but it is every month you are investing the same amount, so it recurs, right? So hopefully
Okay.
you understand these are a banking product. Now there is something called the stock market, which is basically companies that have given their shares or part of you. Think of it, right? If somebody had to say that you are valued at 1,000 rupees, you create 1 rupee 1,000 shares and
Yeah.
you distribute it. When people start exchanging and there is a higher demand versus supply, your price goes up, right? There's more demand for you to come online. There is more demand this thing. When supply goes down, where people don't want you as much as earlier, the price will come down, right? So think of it, stock market is owning companies or owning businesses that
Yeah.
you don't have to work on anything for. Then there is something called debt. Debt is very simple, right?
Yeah.
Think of it, debt markets are places where companies or borrow from other people, or the government borrows from. So they give you a fixed return, right? So mutual fund is a
Okay. Yeah.
basket of stocks or a basket of debt funds. It is not a cat. It's a way of investing. It is not another completely different thing, right? So mutual fund is a method of investing, because I don't want to choose which companies. I don't want to take. Somebody else does all the hard work. I invest in them, and they select the companies or the debts and so on and so forth. And the last one, or the last two ones, one is called insurance, which some of them are in savings linked insurance plans, where you continuously save when you turn 60, or when you finish 35 years or 30 years based on the plan. They'll give you a fixed term back. But if you're, for God forsaken, any reason, you are no more in that period, then they also pay your family for you, right? So that's
Okay.
the insurance side. And the last is something called Provident Fund, or PPF, which is for long term, which is a retirement fund.
Yeah.
When once you put, you can't take out money for 15 years, but it's a tax free return. It is meant for you to save for extremely long term.
Okay. And what is the difference between index funds and mutual funds? Because like both of them are, look pretty much the same to me, I think.
Index fund is a category in mutual funds. Also,
Okay.
index funds are also in stock market. Think of it. See, you know the concept of Sensex and Nifty, right?
Yeah.
You know what they are?
Yeah.
What is Sensex?
Sensex is a group of, like, it shows how the market is doing. It has its own index fund which shows the top 20 companies and how they're doing and all.
So look at it. Sensex is nothing but a basket of 30 companies.
Yeah.
Nifty is a basket of 50
50
companies.
companies.
Okay. Now, a index fund is a fund that invests in the same proportion as the division of these 30 funds in the Sensex. So it's like a basket of stocks, right? As we, mutual fund is a basket of stock. This is also a category. Index is a basket of stock. You can get ETF, which is exchange traded
Exchange
funds,
traded funds.
which are the same thing on the stock market or on mutual fund. You have something called index funds, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
basically similar-ish behavior end of the day on what a Nifty or a Sensex are. The same
Okay.
basket of fund in the same proportion.
Mm-hmm. And then how does the bond market work?
Sorry, I've had a really long day. So bond market is very simple. Bond market is the same as debt fund, right? So debt fund is called what the bond market is. It's where I am a company. Let's say I have a company which is listed in the stock market.
Hmm.
Right? I go get myself rated on my quality of my debenture or the debt that I want to offer, and I say, hey, I am willing to. You guys give me money in 2 years. I will give you back this money at this interest rate. It's the same thing as the bank does to your savings account, right? Right,
Mm-hmm.
or to your fixed deposit. So that's a bond market is a market where people exchange basically notes of future revenue or future income plus principal that you get from a company. Just think of it, right? 10 people, 10 large companies came and said, all of us are willing to give you some interest if you give us money. Why? Because we have a business, we will grow that money in. So you give me your
Mm-hmm.
money. So and that exchange of these debt is called a debt bond market.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you one question about debt. How can we use debt for our own advantage? Like I have heard in multiple YouTube channels, people say that there is good debt and there's also bad debt. You should focus on
So who's
having
going to
good
sit
debt.
and define it?
Huh?
Yeah, so this is all. Debt is bad no matter what you do. Right? If debt is bad for you, it's bad for someone else also. Think
Okay.
about it. With debt, comes a lot of risk.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you give in debt, you're hoping your principal is secure. But it's not the case. IILFS is a company that was having troubles. There are troubles with DHFL. So these were the causes that people were trying. See, the thing is, stock market works between greed and laziness, right? I literally like people are lazy because they want to listen to tips like this, where they listen to YouTube video because how can I spend more than 10 seconds listening about my wealth that I need to make for the next 40 years? Because I've studied so much, because I've worked so hard. I've studied from the best colleges in India. I'm the smartest guy. I'll just listen to one tip and invest. And that's what happens. YouTube is a classic example, right?
Yeah.
Two frauds that I really want to call out, right? Two frauds on YouTube is this passive income nonsense that I see. Build passive income. It worked for a different era, and you need lots of money for building passive
Why do
income.
you think that that
And
doesn't work
second,
right now?
it does not work right now. Passive income is a fraud concept. You first start getting, you've got educated to have an active income. First, improve your active income, right? Before thinking of passive income.
Yeah.
Problem is,
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to get rich quick or get rich while I'm lazy. This whole concept that I will sit here and I'll have a stick that will go and touch that TV remote. Oh, that's like, because how can I get up? How can I do
Yeah.
any effort to make my money grow? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Same, coming back to the whole debt question, right? My context is do not invest into debt. It has no value except liquid funds that invest in government securities, which are RBI backed, which are basically if RBI shuts down, there is no banking. Hence, none of us
Mm-hmm.
have the money. It's a
Yeah.
very safe place. Nothing happens there. But anything else, you're taking a lot of risk at early days, which you should not. Or
Okay.
not every time the risk turns out to be the case. Do not be greedy and do not be lazy. I
Mm-hmm.
just do not understand. If you want to build wealth in the long term, then don't be that. And if you really want to be greedy, then become the best day trader out there, right?
Yeah.
You work hard, become the best day trader out there. You might have a misguided soul by the end of it, but you can potentially make a lot of money if you do it right. But then do it only if you really know your subject matter.
Okay. And talking about RBI and
Right?
central
It's like
banks.
just think of it, right? Uh, no, let's just 1 second, right?
Yeah.
Think of it. If I have not learned engineering and I'm supposed to go build an oil field, right? I will
Mm-hmm.
fuck up, right? As simple as that. So that's it.
Yeah.
Don't do these things.
Okay. Talking about RBI and central banks, how are they able to print money whenever the system goes down, whenever there is a recession, right? Because back in 2008, central banks started printing a bunch of money, and that is what they did right now as well. what is this?
See,
How does this
where does your
happen?
money come from? Where does your money
Like
come from?
it's all like they can literally just print
I
it
mean,
however they want, right?
no,
There
so
is
it's
it
not
is
as
not
simple as
backed
that.
by it's not backed by gold, right? So look, I was
No, so
I just got this information from a playlist on YouTube that I was watching by Mike Maloney. He was talking about the hidden secrets of money, and he was talking about how um, money, like as we know it, the dollar was removed from the gold standard, and right now because of that people are able to print as much of that as possible, and that is just to inflation and all, and that won't last ever. Okay, and his advice was to go and buy as much as gold and silver as possible because they have proper value. That value will not deteriorate as time goes on. It would increase, he's saying.
really, no, so gold is typically in very long terms have gone up, but gold is the
Yeah.
only metal that we extract from the earth that we don't consume.
Yeah.
It's the only metal that we does not get consumed somewhere else, except small application, industrial application, which is very bare. We store gold as jewelry or as bricks,
Yeah.
right? So again, everyone could have a different viewpoint, and I'm not going to question this message. But what is a bunny, right? Ask yourself, what is money? What is that Gandhiji's note? What does that 2000 rupee
It's
note
just a
say?
paper. It's just
Have you ever
paper.
questioned it? No, it's
We have
IOUs.
faith in it. Yeah, it's an IOU. Yeah.
It is no. It's simply an IOU. It's a contract. It's a social contract
Yeah.
that society created with a government institution, which was an elected body, saying this is printed by the government. So it's an IOU. So when you make 2000 rupees or you give 2000 rupees to somebody, it's IOUs that are exchanged, right? Right?
Yeah.
You did some work for me. Here is this thing, but the government is owning you. It's literally that this thing. The fact that the government can print is because that's how the economic engine or the capital engine is built around. Now, why do they print it? They print it for many reasons. A lot. Sometimes it's liquidity. Sometimes it is allowing more investments to happen, or uh, disguising some of the government over expenditures because
Yeah.
they have a large deficit. It's a much longer conversation. Let's keep that podcast separate. On
Yeah.
it's a very interesting podcast. So let's come up with it. What is money and how does governments or banks get to? But just know that RBI has the potential. They manage. So there's something called M1 and M2. We can get into it as separately to discuss. It's
Okay.
a much longer conversation.
I'd love to have that chat.
Absolutely. So, but don't just see YouTube videos and somebody says buy gold and I just tomorrow stop buying gold. Like I start buying gold, start shorting. You know the concept of shorting
Yeah.
stock. Start shorting the dollar. That dollar will be not existent. Dollar has a value. I don't understand this guy. If you take dollar away, are you going to take parts of gold? Right. The reason why currency works as a concept, where
Yeah.
earlier we used to do this with coins of gold coins or platinum coins or silver coins around or copper coins back in the days, was why? Because that was an exchange value. Now dollar and cents around the dollar or rupee or paise has a value which you can denominate to the most basic level to build an exchange, right? Now
Yeah.
imagine if tomorrow you had to take gold and I had to go buy an ice cream.
Yeah.
How am I going to cut that
No,
gold
no, that's
in the
okay. That's
exact
okay.
value?
That I understand.
So
But
that's
like
why.
previously, they were like
So
they
this guy,
had
like
a
you should ask this
standard.
guy. You
Yeah,
know,
they had a standard value of dollar. It was like 35 uh, dollars equals to 1 pounds of 1 ounce of gold, something like this in the beginning. Okay, and
yeah,
later on they
but
started
gold price.
saying that
How does gold prices go up? So even gold is
yeah,
pegged to a dollar amount, right?
hmm,
If you had to buy gold, you will
yeah.
peg it to rupees or some kind of a currency, right? How do you otherwise get gold? You
I
just
don't know.
don't
I'm
got
curious.
like if somebody mined it. No, think about it. Like so, for
Yeah,
example, I had a brick of gold, right? Let's say my phone was a brick of gold. I just wish.
yeah.
How would you pay if and you have to buy this from me? How would you buy it?
It would depend on supply and
You would
demand,
exchange
right?
some currency, right?
Yeah,
No, that's a different context. But there is you will put currency value behind it, right?
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
So that's about it. So yeah, it's a basic 101 of financial economics. Very interesting subject. Some people have done a great video on it. It's a complicated thing to put our heads around, and that's why we don't think about it.
Yeah.
It is not an easy concept, right?
Mhm.
Somebody in the mint if you go to town in Bombay, that's where the money gets printed. Somebody decides to buy a piece of paper and convert it into the valuable that it becomes.
Yeah.
Right? Tomorrow you can write 20,000 and people will start buying it because somebody will start doing the same.
But isn't there an end to it? Like, how much can they keep doing this? Like, for how long can they do this?
See, any money, see, government also has a budget, right? That's why you have a
Yeah.
budget. Government also has a budget. Government has expenses. It has some revenues through taxes in both indirect and direct taxes, right? Typically, or from excess from export, which is India is an import country. But if we had excess export, then that revenue also becomes part of government revenue. And it is about balancing. Right? So it balances between expenses and this thing, and you need money in terms of circulation. Now,
Hmm.
sometimes when the currency becomes less, RBI has to print more currency so that there is more available. So there is currency availability between people. So what exchange happens versus what the government today needs, right? And today the government obviously needs to spend more money than it typically makes because everyone's suffering, right? So they need to subsidize different aspects to it, and that's why there's a concept of fiscal deficit that happens,
Yeah.
which is your in your gap between your revenue and your expenditures, right? And we've been
Mhm.
suffering with fiscal deficit for a while. There's something called monetary deficit, which is a different concept. We'll get into it.
Okay. So you say that it's not a good idea to just look at one particular playlist or video on YouTube and decide. You really have to read
It's
upon it,
horrible.
right?
Like
Yeah.
imagine I can become an engineer. Show me that one video, that 10 minutes I hear, I am an engineer. I can start coding tomorrow or start building civil constructions. Imagine I build a bridge by watching a YouTube video. I think
Yeah.
that would be amazing, right? Would you
Yeah.
want to be on that bridge?
No.
Would you want to drive your car? Hence,
Probably
that's
not.
the same analogy.
Yeah.
People have spent years doing finance, study finance.
Mhm.
It should be a
Exactly. Yeah. So,
compulsory
what should be
subject.
the best resources to get into to learn these things? What would be the best books that you can advise us to look into just to understand, like, as a beginner?
So again, everybody loves to, like, I love the way you have books also in there. And you might read books, but most
Yeah.
people don't, right? Most people go
Yeah.
to a YouTube channel today.
Mhm.
Yesterday in the talk, I was saying, right, there are a couple of books. Like one book I would recommend: read The Intelligent Investor. It's like the
Yeah.
basic
Benjamin
Bible
Graham.
that you need to do before Benjamin Graham. But more importantly, just go online. There are so many. There's Veracity by Zerodha. There is something called a Learn app. There is Fin Shots for daily news. This is
Mhm.
just get into the habit and enjoy the process the way you enjoy your engineering or your education. And if you don't, you shouldn't study. The same way, if you don't build interest, you should
Yeah.
not manage your money. Let somebody
Mhm.
else manage it. But see, these all come by building interest, and we don't inherently have any interest. Technically, if you ask people, not everybody likes maths, but everybody has to do maths, right? Eventually,
Mhm.
in some form of shape in life. So hence, you have to build interest, and it's very important to do so.
Okay. All right. I think that should do it for this podcast episode. It was a lot of knowledge for our audience. That should be it. We might do some more episodes as well, right? If you have the
No,
time, you can
let's do
schedule
one
on
with
this.
money. Let's just do one. How is money made,
Sure.
and why you should not watch YouTube videos and invest money.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Okay, Gaurang, thank you so much for
Perfect.
joining me here for this podcast episode. I hope the audience was able to get something out from this. Uh, People, if you have any doubts, you can ask him on Instagram at Ask That Finance Guy. I'll have the links in the description. Go check it out. And thank you so much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Thank you.
That was it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed and learned something about money and financing. If you have any more queries and you want to ask Gaurang, you can reach out to him on Instagram at Ask That Finance Guy. I'll have the links in the description. And yeah, do ask him if you have any queries around money and how can you invest more specifically. And so yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video till the very end. If you are still watching, you are just the best person out there. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video till the very end. That just means the world to me. If you can go to Apple Podcasts and give us the 5-star rating, that would just be amazing. Thank you so much for taking out the time, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye bye.